call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. Please remain standing for prayer.
Before I pray today, I'd like to mention that we'd like to take a moment to have a moment of silence in the passing of Bill Ruff, Constable and husband of Magistrate Sandy Ruff. Father, we thank you for this day, another day of life. We thank you for the many blessings you grant each and every one of us. We ask you to be with those that are sick, be with those families that have lost loved ones, and comfort them. And we also ask you to be with the men and women who are gathered here today to conduct the business of the county. And as always, be with the men and women who protect and serve us. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Mel Winchester, would you mind turning the AC off, please, so we can hear? Thank you. Yeah, thanks. Roll call.
Sandy Ruff. Here. Craig Miller.
Here.
David Couch.
Here.
Danny Holleran.
Here.
Debbie Mayfield.
Here.
John Scott.
Here.
Heather Brumley. Here. Kevin Gerald.
Here.
We'll now have the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting, May 13th, 2026. If everyone's had a moment to look over those, I will ask for a motion on the floor for approval.
Motion.
Motion by Debbie Mayfield. Do I have a second?
Second.
John Scott. Any corrections or discussion? Call for a vote.
Craig Miller.
Yes.
David Couch.
Yes.
Danny Holleran.
Yes.
Debbie Mayfield.
Yes.
John Scott.
Yes.
Heather Brumley.
Yes.
Kevin Gerald.
Yes.
Judge Teagarden.
Yes.
Sandy Ruff.
Yes.
Old business, road department update.
Well, of course, everybody knows we're dealing with a lot of water, rain issues right now. We had 4 roads closed for high water. 3 of them's open, and 1 of them is still being worked on, is Jet Road. Hoping to get it open today or tomorrow. Had to clean a lot of culverts. We've had several trees down. And in the process, we moved both machines. We started mowing with the side mowers, and the both bush hogs are continuing to run.
Anything from the court for supervisor?
Tom Enix will start drilling T-rail on the middle section of Stag Creek tomorrow, Friday.
Tomorrow or Friday? Anything further for the road supervisor this morning? Animal shelter expansion, the survey has been completed, and it will be sent to the architect to be able to send in for plan approval at the state for permits. Magistrate Miller, do you have anything other than that?
No, we've just been waiting for the survey. We finally got it last week, and then DS2 Architects will receive it and send it on to Frankfurt, and hopefully once again get the process rolling.
Property Licking Estate surplus, we'll table that. Moving into new business, we have our ACOs here regarding the rabies vaccines. And I'll have you 2 step up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I know it was brought up at the last meeting about having preventative rabies vaccines, and you guys had some questions, I believe? Yes, no? Okay, so we have a printout that I think you guys got a copy of from the doctor's office, just talking about rabies itself and, you know, what happens and all that kind of stuff. And then there was a price sheet from the Primary Plus.
So the total would be $655.59 without insurance. So the problem that we ran into, just in the last couple of days, if we run it through insurance and it's for work, and they go back and say, hey, this is for work, that could be, an insurance fraud claim, possibly. So that was something that the doctor brought up recently after he had made his phone calls. Through insurance, it was $35 a vaccine. But you run into the issue, is it going to turn into insurance fraud if we go through our insurance? They couldn't tell me for sure. I've called the insurance, so the total would be without any of that, the $655.59 a vaccine, making it, what was the total? $13.11 per person. So these shots, you get one at day 0, one at day 7, and then you'll have to have, this is a 2-shot. So you're only paying for the 2 instead of the 3 versus the health department. Theirs is 3 shots. So then at a year, you would get a booster, and that would be your complete vaccines, unless you were to get bit. And then at that time, you don't have to have as many at that time. But with rabies, if you wait, if you don't go immediately and you show symptoms, which could be a day or months, a year, it's pretty much fatal.
So how much would your booster be in the year?
The $655.59.
Again,
Yes.
okay.
Yep, it's the same per vaccine. So
But
it'd be
the-
3 total, but they last for 3 years.
And then the after treatment without preventative, there's a human rabies immunoglobulin that's given around the wound site, and that price is based on weight. The estimate's anywhere from 300 to 3,500, and then you also have to have a series of 4 to 5 vaccines on top of that. So, without or with the preventative, aftercare is just a couple shots.
I actually spoke to a vet, and he was kind of dumbfounded. We don't normally do this for our ACOs anyway. He said that it's important to be preventative because you don't know what animals you're dealing with or what they have. And then he brought up that immunoglobulin whatever thing and how expensive it is, but if you go on and get your vaccines, you often don't even have to have that.
Correct.
If you get bit and they have rabies.
Yes.
And you have more time after the fact. So
Yes.
if you get bit, you've already had your vaccines beforehand. You don't have to go to the hospital immediately. You have a little bit of leeway there. Yeah.
So basically, for you all to get vaccinated, it's gonna be $1,311 a year.
Well, not a year. So for us in general, it would be that 1311, and then that would be all 3 shots. And then we would be okay for 3 years before we ever had to get it again. Now, in the future, if, somebody else came in, it would be good for 3 years, but you would also have to pay that for a new person. or
So the
what.
booster a year later is included in that first fee?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I don't-
1311 for both
Oh,
of
I'm
you.
sorry.
I don't
No,
think
the
it's right.
first ones, I'm sorry about that.
1311 now,
Yeah, that's right, I'm
and
sorry.
then next
I
year
did
would be
mess
the
that up.
655.
Primary Plus is 2 vaccines.
Correct.
Correct.
So that's your 1,300.
Plus the
Correct.
boost, plus the booster,
And then the booster next year.
same price.
655.
It's, yes, $655.59 for 3 over your year of getting them is gonna be $3,933.54 is what the total would be.
So, we did talk to the health department as well. They were $460 something a piece. But those are 3 shots plus the booster at the year. So we're looking at 8 shots, 6 versus 8.
So Primary Plus is telling you insurance may claim that it's fraud just because you're doing this preventatively.
Because
For
it's
work.
Because it's for work.
Because it's documented, because not everybody can go in and say, hey, I want a rabies vaccine, because they won't give it like that. They base it on your job description
Which-
or
And
situations.
travel, yeah.
Yeah, travel.
Which I think an animal control officer for Bracken County ought to fit the job description that it's,
Right. Right,
Yeah.
well, I brought up, trapping, when we trap dogs, we don't know what we're getting in those traps, And even with the dogs, you don't know what they've come in contact with, especially if they've been running a week, a few weeks, a month.
That and, I mean, the rate of rabies vaccines in the county is pretty low overall.
I don't understand why they would consider it fraud because, I mean, certain jobs need certain things. Plumbers need to take shots for all the stuff they're in. It's called preventative. I don't understand where they're getting it could be fraud.
So the problem is if you run it through insurance, they're saying that instead of it being a personal thing, that basically the county, your employer would have to provide costs for that. Because if not, they're paying out for what your job should be paying for.
Similar to like if you get hurt on the job, you're not supposed to use your personal insurance,
I tell them I take it very personal. This is a peace of mind shot for me.
right?
Well, I also mentioned the fact, because, I mean, regardless, if I could cover it, I was just gonna, I went ahead and covered it, but it's quite expensive. But also, when you walk into the doctors, you can't just say, I want this for my peace of mind. I have to tell them why. It has to be documented as to why I want this shot. Right, yeah.
Judge,
I mean, he couldn't say for sure because nobody would give him a clear answer, but there were people with the insurance companies that did bring that up, that could be a concern.
Judge, can we reach out to our insurance provider and ask them beforehand to get
That's who
clarification?
they contacted.
Yeah,
They-
that's who
you-
they contacted.
Okay.
The doctor actually did most of the work himself. I tried to get an answer, and I spent a good week and a half trying to get an answer, and it wasn't happening. They, wanted all the information that it didn't have because, I mean, I made the appointment, I went in, I talked to the doctor, but I wouldn't have all the information that they wanted. They needed a list of information that I didn't have at the time because I couldn't give them vaccine numbers and this, that, and the other.
Beth,
Judge.
what's your opinion on going through the insurance company? What's your opinion on it?
I don't know, I'd have to look into it, I don't deal with insurance on a regular basis.
Hey, Judge.
I wouldn't go in and asking our HR or whoever in the county deals with insurance.
So are you wanting Tony to reach out to the insurance as well?
Yes, to see what she can find out.
So ladies, again, not, just so we're all clear, it's one shot and one booster that's good for 2 years,
2 shots.
2 shots and a booster.
In one booster, and it's good for 3 years.
and the cost is $659 and some change per shot.
Correct.
So 6 times 3 is 1,800 and some change,
That's-
1,900 and some change. So for both of you, for 3 years, it's $3,900. Okay. So $1,000 a year.
Judge, do we pay for DOT physicals?
For the road department?
Yes.
Yes.
What's the difference?
The cost is a lot lower, but other than that,
I mean, they need it for their job.
I can have Tony call the insurance, or there can be a motion on the floor for approval. I mean, it's, if you want us to exhaust all efforts and get a hold of the insurance, Tony will be more than willing, I'm sure.
I think we check with the insurance first, but we can move forward with a motion to approve the rabies vaccinations due to it being, I think it needs to be mandatory for the animal control officers.
Agreed.
I agree.
And that'd be the series of the 2 vaccines in the first week plus the booster a year later. It should come out to $3,933.54 for both of you. I would put that motion on the floor after Tony contacts the insurance company.
I'll second that.
Did you get all that? So we have motion by Craig Miller and second by David Couch.
Yes.
Any further discussion on the vaccines? Call for a vote.
David Kelch,
Yes.
Danny Holleran,
Yes.
Debbie Mayfield,
Yes.
John Scott,
Yes.
Heather Brumley,
Yes.
Kevin Gerald,
Yes.
Judge Teagarden,
Yes,
Sandy Roof,
Yes.
Craig Miller.
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you.
Buffalo Trace Road Commission bids, you were given a packet this morning. The bids are for chip and seal, cold mix, and salt. Reviewing these with the, road supervisor. We have highlighted, my recommendations to the court. So for chip and seal, SC Construction and Materials LLC. And if you would like to say anything about,
Is that the company out of Vansburg?
No, they're out of Ohio.
Okay.
They're the ones that done some the last 3 or 4 years for us.
in the past, they've done a really good job, correct? I would say we could probably do a motion to accept all three once we choose to have it in the minutes. So recommending SC Construction and Materials LLC for chip and seal. For the cold mix asphalt, I recommend Brown County Asphalt, Georgetown, Ohio. And then on back to the salt. We had to put in approximate tonnage that we requested, and we put it at 2,500 because we have no idea what the weather will be. We will be going to all pure salt next year, or the end of this year, I would say. And Compass Minerals came in, and there's a letter behind the actual bid that shows the price at the 100, I believe it was 119.63, or was it, yeah, 119.63. They are agreeing to provide 80% of the tonnage that we requested, so that would be providing 2,000 of the 2,500 that we requested, but we would have to agree that we will order those amounts, which in the past, this has not been a problem of us ordering salt. It's been where we've had to reach out maybe and get from other places. So I'm comfortable recommending that with Compass Materials, or Compass Minerals America Incorporated. And the floor is open for discussion if anyone has any questions. Any discussion?
I'll make the motion as you suggested. The ones you have highlighted there. We'll accept those.
I'll second.
Okay, John Scott has made a motion for chip and seal SC Construction, cold mix, Brown County Asphalt, salt, Compass Minerals, and Debbie, did you second that?
I did.
So the second has been made by Debbie Mayfield. Is there any further discussion? Call for vote.
Danny Holleran,
Yes.
Debbie Mayfield.
Yes.
John Scott,
Yes.
Heather Brumley,
Yes.
Kevin Gerald,
Yes.
Judge Teagarden,
Yes.
Sandy Roof,
Yes.
Craig Miller,
Yes.
David Couch.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda, we have Chief Kyle Carpenter with Maysville EMS and Fire regarding radio interoperability and mutual aid. Good morning. I missed the last meeting. I watched it. Sure, come on up. I missed the last meeting, but I did watch the meeting later.
First off, I want to apologize. I did not know you wasn't going to be here until I got here, so I owe you an apology for that.
That's
So,
fine. We got
I
you.
feel really bad about that. I was just talking back there. I was like, man, when I got here, and then I met with Mr. Miller, and I was like, man, this looks awful. So I applaud Mr. Miller for being so welcoming when I showed up. So, and sorry I missed you, and I apologize for that. So I definitely owe that to you. So.
Well, thank you. It's okay. We got you added to the agenda
Yeah.
and you were
Yes.
able to speak.
So is there any more questions? I know y'all have had a couple weeks to think about it, and we got the experts behind us here to talk about it too. So is there any questions that you all may have or want from me now that you have some more information, had time to think about it and do research? Or
I wanted to explain, and I would have done this had I been here last week as well, or 2 weeks ago, when the emails were coming back and forth.
Yeah.
When you said in your email that you were requesting information regarding our DMR radio system and repeater system, I took for granted because we knew when we put this system in it wasn't going to work with what you had because Germantown was on your system with their radios and it wasn't going to work. So I thought when I emailed back and CC'd DKC Radio that you were needing information about our system. I just wanted to make that clear so
Okay.
that they could tell you what was required.
Okay.
And then at the end of the email, after the Zello came up,
Yeah.
you had said that if there are other opportunities to revisit configuration and remove access limits, you know, that you were open for discussion on that.
Yeah.
I was trying to find a resolve for our issue before I opened further discussion with you all.
Okay.
I don't want anybody to think that I said use Zello or nothing and that I wasn't continuously working on this
Okay.
because I really was. And I wanted you to know that. I didn't
Yeah.
disregard your email whatsoever. Because I've been kind of talking to Tanisha about it a little bit to see if there was different routes we could go and been talking to the radio vendors. Another thing I would like to express is I didn't find out until I watched the meeting that we actually had a contract with EMS that was in jeopardy for July 1. I was totally unaware of that.
Well, that's kind of, I wanted to come and talk to you all together.
Yeah.
Because one thing I have to worry about as a fire chief, and for my guys that work for me, is their safety. And if they're responding to your county and can't have communication, that is not safe. That's the whole reason you all changed the system. It was not safe for the sheriff's department. It wasn't safe for EMS. It wasn't safe for fire, because y'all needed reliable communication. And that's kind of where we're at too. You know, we need to have reliable communication if we're able to respond to Bracken County. And so that's kind of where we needed to have discussions here, and said it was better to accept calling each magistrate, and I wanted to do what our local government is meant to do, to discuss stuff in public for the community to hear, for you all to hear, so everybody gets the same information. So, and that's kind of why I showed up and said, hey, you realize we do mutual aid, and I think some of y'all just didn't have the information. And that's kind of why I came here, was to kind of open up ears. I'm from Maysville. My priorities are with the Maysville Fire Department. Me as a stranger coming to Bracken County, I'm not going to tell you all how to do your job. I'm not going to tell you, hey, do your radio system like this, but I am going to tell you the issues that it's causing.
Yeah.
And maybe this, the magistrates and you can work together and work with DKC Radio and have a solution. That's why I was here, just to open ears. I'm not the stranger coming in to tell people how to do something. So
Well,
I
and I
wanted to
can
make that
appreciate
clear, that I'm just here to say what's going on, and guess what? You all got elected, and I hate to say it like this, but it's your job. So, which is a good thing, you know? That's why we have local government, for people to get together and make decisions, so.
I can appreciate that. I
Yeah.
can. So, does anybody have any questions from anything that was said last week for Chief Carpenter?
And do you all have anything to add to it? I think we
They-
should
I've
open up to
got
the.
them on the agenda.
Okay,
They've
okay.
got a proposal.
Okay.
I'm glad that you're here so that you can kind of
Okay,
hear the
so-
proposal and things like that. So,
Okay.
I've learned way more about radios than I ever intend to in my
It's awful, isn't it?
For somebody that did not want
Yeah.
that career path, here we are, so. But you can never know all of it. I'm not even this much into it, so. But thank you, Chief Carmen,
Okay.
you know, we appreciate you coming back.
And thank you for listening to me. And again, thank you all for opening. I just showed up and y'all got me on the agenda. I know how complicated that can be at times when the curveballs are thrown to like this organization. So I just appreciate y'all working with us though. So thank you.
I appreciate
Chief.
it, thank you.
Chief, hey, can you explain more? I mean, we're probably on, YouTube or whatever. Can you explain more to the public why you are here? I mean, because the communication, I spoke with you. You've had, what, 2 or 3 fires, and you've not been able to communicate with our fire department?
Well, it's more the EMS side that I deal with. Now, I can only speak for the Maysville Fire Department, and I came here to represent the Maysville Fire Department, so we mutual aid with EMS. And about 3 or 4 times a month, we are over in Bracken County doing mutual aid, because that's the world we live in and being a first responder. Small communities like Bracken County, like Mason County, like Fleming or Lewis, we have to depend on each other. We are the Buffalo Trace area, and we are here to help each other, and that our shortcomings can be replaced by our friends next door. So if Penny and her crews get busy and they got 2 or 3 ambulances out and they need mutual aid, or if it's a bad wreck on anywhere, you all got probably the worst. We both have the worst road in Kentucky, in my opinion, to deal with wrecks, which is the AA. So there's been many times that we've been almost to the Pendleton County line for bad wrecks on the AA, and I'm sure you all up there can probably name one right off the bat in the past 10 years. So we really depend on each other in those bad situations. So we need to be able to communicate not only with Penny's crews, but with the fire departments. The fire departments are getting on the scene first. They're the first responders. They're the ones doing the extrication. They see the patient first. They need to know, hey, is this patient, are we taking them to Mediview? Or are we flying them out? Are we trying to get them to UC? How many patients do we have? Is this a van full of Amish kids? What resources do we need? So if we don't have all this information and us working together, you understand what can happen and what dangers can happen if not everybody has communications. And I'm just going on my side of it. There's other issues, whether it's the fire side or the sheriff's side. Mr. Linville's here today, kind of the same concerns on communications. I think they even responded to Bracken County this weekend. I can't go into details about that because it's not my job. I can only talk about the EMS side over here. But the same thing, I think they have the same issues with the fire and everything else. So that's kind of why I'm here. So I just want my guys to be safe when they're responding to your county. And the residents of Bracken County, because we're hauling your residents. So we want to give them the best service we possibly can, and make sure we're able to make a difference in their lives. So it's life and death is really, I hate to be that dramatic, but that's what it is.
May I ask Mr. Linville a question? How many times are you all out here in the middle of the night by yourself? And how many deputies do y'all have on duty?
It's quite often, it varies. Obviously, the sheriff's office over here.
Can we get you to come to microphone so they can hear you online?
Facebook has to see it.
Sorry.
It's fine.
It's quite often. My name is Colton Linville, if you don't know. I work for the Chief Deputy with the Sheriff's Office of Mason County. We work great with Bracken County. I think the sheriff does a great job of providing that service to the county, but there are times, i.e. this past weekend, when there was assistance requested to our office, and the deputies are contacting me and letting me know, hey, we're responding over to Bracken County in reference to a knife situation. I'm not going to go into details with it. A knife, it sounds dramatic as it is. Luckily, everything worked out. However, it would be nice to be able to communicate with the sheriff's office, with the deputies. We're on the P25 platform, they're on a DMR platform. Now, our radios that we specifically have are compatible. We just have to buy the software, which we're willing to do at some point, that will hold the DMR platform. But, it's the other issues that he's explaining to that we want to be able to communicate. We've got multiple, channels in our radios right now with Bracken, Fleming, and Lewis, and we can't communicate with them. We've been over to Lewis County, we've been to Bracken County in the past, and to Fleming County. At the end of the day, we're in law enforcement. We just want to be able to talk to each other. Dispatch is phenomenal as well. However, they're the middleman. So we want to be able to talk directly with the sheriff or with one of the deputies and get the live information. And God forbid, there's ever that critical incident, you know, where shots are fired or whatever it may be, you know, we want to be able to talk to that person. I know we executed a warrant on somebody, a fugitive that we have been looking for some time. I believe that was that last summer, or maybe the summer before. You know, there were several of us. We put a Bracken Mason on each corner, and that's, you know, that has its own dangers in itself. But we had to do that for a reason, because we can't talk. And it depends on where we're at. Cell phone service is getting better. It's 2026, but there's still areas too where that's not always feasible. So it's just we just want to establish the same thing, communication. It's infrastructure, and I think we that should be done. Not to tell you guys how to do your job by any means. You guys are obviously, like he said, and I'll just echo that. And you guys do a great job. Just want to make sure that we can communicate with the sheriff if they call. Again, he does a great job with that stuff. It's just in that situation if we do. We also have a mutual aid over in Germantown, so sometimes our deputies are right there on the Bracken side. You know, if they're running scan or we're running scan, you know, they can hear us, and God forbid, you know, I pull somebody over in Germantown and I get in the fight for my life, I want to be able to have backup, and sometimes that's not always feasible for our guys if they're on a domestic or whatever it may be. The closest deputy may be, you know, right outside here in Delisle's Curve or whatever it may be, and can get to me quicker. So that's all.
To kind of echo what he said, I've said this for the past 2 or 3 years, and you all have seen it a lot more, and it's coming our way. Northern Kentucky's getting an awful lot closer. You know, you think of the growth this area's had in the past 30 years, and kind of just the lifestyle and difference that's happened, stuff you've never had to deal with in the past that we're having to deal with now. So it's more important more than ever that all of us have communications, because we're all depending on each other. So, you know, it always happens, like, and our jobs are to think of the worst possible moments and things that can happen and be prepared for them. So we always plan for the worst, hope for the best. You know, you think something as simple as how many schools you have in this community. I mean, my niece goes to Taylor Elementary, and right now, if like a school shooting or a mass casualty incident happens right there, you're probably having 3 counties, state police, and multiple law enforcement, multiple ambulances and fire. It's going to be a full-on chaos, and it's going to be even more chaos if we can't communicate. So small communities like us have to depend on each other. It's not a lack of resources as far as, say, as you know, somebody not doing their job. It's just the beast we are handed, because growth is moving downwards. There's less room up there, stuff's coming this way. So we need to be prepared. The one thing we struggle in government, I think, is that we always react. Something goes wrong and then we react. It's not preventing. So let's, before something major happens and we have a major incident, let's not be a reaction. Let's prevent this before it happens. So.
And I feel too, you know, you all know what's coming to Mason County. It's been a big issue, this data center. With this coming in, I feel that, Colton, I see you all out in Germantown all the time. I myself feel that you ought to be able to communicate with Bracken County. And I mean, whatever we need to do, we need to fix it.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple.
All of our own opinions as to the data center, it is going to make this area more, you know, more busy, even out this way. So, you know, you're talking 1,500 construction workers, if not more. They're going to need places to stay, and they're probably going to push out. Bracken County's beautiful. I've got family over this way. They're going to come over this way. So, and that's just a hot spot of going back and forth between that area.
You're not the best kept secret anymore.
No, it's out. I mean, it's pretty much out.
So.
Channel 12 calls Mason County, Northern Kentucky.
That means you gotta go through us to get to them.
So, Mr. Glenville, are you saying that we need to be working on something for you as well, or are you, is your,
Yes,
are
ma'am.
you
Our
all?
end goal as well, and I've had a few discussions with the sheriff about this. I think we'd all like to be able to communicate at some point.
So we need to invest, I thought you said something
We
about.
also have to invest in the programming, and they can maybe share some of that. We like I said, our radios are Kenwoods. We have the capability to be a DMR, I guess platform, that might be the wrong terminology, but we buy the software, it's like $90 per radio. We're willing to do that, but I think there's some things on this end too that also have to be addressed in order for that to happen.
And like I shared last time, we are already currently investing because of decisions that were made here. If it was my personal choice, I've been a Motorola guy my whole life. I think Motorola makes a quality radio. I had to go Kenwood because they didn't have the technology to do both DMR and P25. So we made the decision to switch from Motorola, which killed my soul because I've been a loyal Motorola fan since I've been at the fire department. But we had to change and upgrade our radios so we could accommodate this change, which we thought it was going to accommodate until we got into the nuts and bolts of it with that RAS key and everything else. So we're just asking to meet halfway. Like,
Have you already ordered your radios?
yes. So our radios are ordered, and like I said, they do DMR, they do P25, they even do the marks across the river. We're going to be able to communicate, hopefully, with the change, if we can get this change, with all the counties around us.
So you all can't even communicate with Lewis County right now?
No, we can with Lewis County
Okay.
because they don't have a RAS key on their stuff now.
So all we need to do is get the RAS key off our radios.
From what they can talk more about it. They are the radio experts. I'm a white shirt fire chief. I know enough to get me in trouble to just kind of talk about it. But this is, you need to talk to your vendors, whether it's DKC or whoever, and what a change would be, where interoperability will work. Where I know with that RAS key, it's kind of the first tier of kind of encryption, and it's kind of brand specific. I know there's other encryptions you can get that are more in depth, that are more secure, that is actually across platforms. So that's discussions you need to have with your vendor, not with us. So, and with this body here, we're just bringing kind of the issues that we have. That's really, it's back to you all. So,
Well, thank you all for
hey,
bringing this.
thank you all for.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can. Yes.
Sheriff, speaking across the state from the Sheriff's Association, how much cross-county cooperation like this is there that you know of? I mean, obviously,
It happens every day as far as,
I know as far as the mutual aid, but the radio compatibility of, let's not just say Buffalo Trace region of our 5 counties, but across the state, do you see 2 to 3 counties having all first responders, EMS, fire, law, working on one radio system?
so we use Boone, Kenton, and Campbell. They're all in the same entire system. So they are all able to communicate with one another. They may know more about their system than I do. I'm not a radio guy. That's a Harris communication system, I think. And those 3 counties put in the infrastructure and spent the money so that all of them are able to communicate as one continuous agency. Are they all on the same channels all the time? Absolutely not. But you can simply change the channel on your radio and talk to a Boone County deputy as a Campbell County police officer.
Are they P25, all of them?
They are all P25. That's a very high dollar system that they've got.
And I think 3-4 years ago, when we were looking at the difference between P25 and DMR, it was 4 to 1, 5 to 1. Does that sound right, price-wise?
He's shaking his head. Yes. When we got the quote for the P25, just for us, it was over $1 million.
It was, yeah, $1 million plus.
So I know that the state police have started a statewide system, I guess similar to what Ohio has, that they've implemented in western Kentucky, that's supposed to be moving this way. As to the specifics of that, I don't know anything about that either. I just know it exists. They may be able to speak to that.
It does exist, and the infrastructure is already in here, but I have talked to state police, when we were talking with Robertson County. The infrastructure is in, there's 8 repeaters per tower site, so they're still working to put more. But it is a P25 800 megahertz system, 7800. Now, in western Kentucky, they are branching it with VHF a little bit because of range and mountain areas, but it does exist, it is coming at some point. There's no projected timeline though, that I've been told yet.
That's what I was told on our call this morning, no timeline.
Well, we know we got a problem. What's the fix?
Do you want to address it first?
Oh, they're the next 2
Yes, I think the county attorney had some things she wanted to bring to light real quick for us.
Yeah, I was asked to look into, I think there was a bit of an implication that somehow something had been done incorrectly, not gotten proper approvals. I've reached out to various organizations in Frankfurt, finally spoke with, where's his name on here? Patrick Compton with the Kentucky Emergency Management. We are not in violation of a KRS that requires approval for all of this. The only time approval would have been required is if we were using grant funding to pay for it. We paid for it out of the general fund. Therefore, we were not required to send this to anyone for approval, and we are not in violation of those KRSs. So just wanted to make everybody clear on that one.
Now, everyone has been given a copy of the quote for what we can do with the analog tower. If you two want to get up and speak on that, in case it calls.
Well, let me go ahead and address this. Kenwood radios are capable of DMR.
Use your microphone, please.
Kenwood radios are capable of DMR. That is true. But with your system over here, your system is a Motorola IP Site Connect system, which means when we were talking to everybody, fire, EMS, and law enforcement did not want to change their radios from channel to channel across the county. So Ken Fuller, chief down there at Aberdeen, at Augusta, can be on the radio and he can holler at Sheriff Booty in Milford, and they can talk seamlessly while Sheriff is on his way down there to talk to him. That is done through the Motorola system. Kenwood radios are not capable of IP Site Connect through Motorola. They have their own proprietary version to do that. So those radios won't still work with your system seamlessly, even if the ASCII is taken off.
Okay. Chief has something to say. Chief Carpenter.
I'll share the microphone.
We actually contacted our rep for our vendor, and they actually called Kenwood, and they can be on the IP Connect. They will work on that system. So there is a way.
I'll double check, 'cause I did call Kenwood. Two different forms. And Motorola's is proprietary and Kenwood's is proprietary, and they don't mix, because Kenwood does it by keying and initiating the search. Motorola does it by the repeaters initiating the search. The portables don't do anything.
So from what we were told with these Kenwoods that we are getting, they've been on the market for a year, maybe less. And what we were told by our guys that the IP Site Connect that you all currently are using, that it would work. There's a way you can do it. Initially, Kenwood could not do it, but with these radios and the update they've done, they can. So that wouldn't be an issue. And Tanisha was on that phone call too. She can probably elaborate more than that. So we were told just yesterday that the IP Site Connect, our radios do it.
Yep, and there could be an update. I can reach back out. Maybe the factory person I was talking to wasn't aware of that software update. But I can double check. But as far as I know, I have no knowledge of Kenwood. Only Motorola. It's not capable as far as I know. If it is, then we can go that route too.
Judge and fiscal court, what we have done with this system was, with the previous analog system, we had 95% coverage in the county using mobile radios. When we switched to the digital platform, that allowed us 95% coverage using portable radios, which is very beneficial to firefighters and EMS and law enforcement when they're inside of a residence or away from their vehicle. So that was the advantages to go into the digital system. When we did that, we did leave the legacy analog system in place, which is currently still on the tower. Where is it? Bluegrass Tower. The legacy analog system is still there. We use it to set off the, excuse me, the tornado sirens, and I believe some of the fire departments still use analog pagers. We send that information from the dispatch center one direction out to the analog system, and right now that's its only function. What we've ran into, especially with Ohio with their MARC system, when they went to MARCs, it kind of isolated them from surrounding counties, surrounding states for help from agencies they're used to getting. What they did is they also left their legacy VHF systems in place when they switched, and now they went back and basically put a bidirectional interconnection patch between the analog system and the digital system. So currently right now with Brown County Fire Departments, you can take a VHF portable in Mason County and talk into their 800 megahertz digital mark system, which is completely connects them back to having communications with agencies that they had lost their communication with. What we can do here in Bracken County with the fire is we can turn the analog fire channel back on using a bidirectional patch, which will allow everything that's set on digital to go back out across the analog system, and everything that's set into the analog system to go right back across the digital system. Now, the only limitation to that is that's using the analog equipment that we got rid of, because it does not provide 95% portable coverage in the county, but because that system was designed around using mobile radios, but it will work as good as it used to before we switched, which was satisfactory, not ideal. But the analog system, like I said, can be simply turned on. It takes basically a cross. You know more about that part of it, but it's a.
It takes a cross patch that's capable of handling bi-directional heavy traffic.
Yeah. So what that would do is it would turn on the analog system and allow it to work seamlessly as it did before. So anybody that's ever had a Bracken County channel in their radio, it would just simply turn back on and start working, and you can talk into the digital system. That'll work good for the fire departments, because that system was left in place in case we ever did this. The law enforcement's gonna be a completely different thing, because there is no analog law enforcement channel that was left in place. All that was converted to digital. So
What about
that would require something else that we would have to look into. It would take a little bit of a study to do, but to figure out what the best course option
And that,
is.
when you say that would work for fire, it would work for fire and EMS?
Fire and EMS, yes. Yeah, in Bracken County and Mason County, fire and EMS share a channel. Some of the other counties, like Lewis County, EMS is on their own dedicated analog channel.
Okay.
So, but yeah, with over here, fire and EMS share, yes.
And that's from only the one analog repeater, which from Bluegrass Road, you're not gonna have the best of coverage all around where it wasn't beforehand.
Correct. That'll come from the Bluegrass Center Tower, which is centrally located, and that tower is using a mobile radio, like we mounted an ambulance or anything, that would provide coverage for the entire county. The only other analog channel that was left in place is above Augusta. You basically have two analog channels that were left in place, and that is the one above Augusta that set the tornado sirens off, and the one on Bluegrass Road that set off the tornado sirens for Milford and the central part of the county. The only place the analog system no longer exists with its own tower is Foster and Milford.
But a mobile radio on VHF analog would still work there.
But portable, not so much. Portable?
Portable, not so much portable unless you're, you know, in a good spot. Yeah, anywhere central in the county or Augusta, you're fine. It's just, you know, Milford Ballpark, probably not. It required the new digital system for us to be able to get out of Milford Ballpark.
So, we have this option. You're saying that it will work on the radios that you have ordered?
The one he just said?
No, the one you were talking about.
The ones, if you kept everything the way it is and just got rid of the RAS key, our new radios will work.
Do we have to get rid of it, or can you program it in your radio?
You can't program that RAS key. That RAS key is a vendor-specific RAS key. It's a Motorola Turbo RAS key. No Motorola, if I bought the fire service, like the APX DMR radio, it wouldn't work with that RAS key, from what I understand from the what little bit I know.
Yeah, the APX radios, any APX radios won't work with a DMR infrastructure. Yeah, so that won't work.
There's other options other than that RAS key that do work across multiple platforms.
The reason we chose the RAS key, let me make this very clear to you, just come to mind. The RAS key was chosen because it doesn't secure the portable radios. it secures the system. That allows interference from 150 miles away at somebody else's DMR system, not to key your repeaters up and tie it up, so if Bobby is in a shootout, he can still communicate seamlessly. Without that, there's a chance that the sheriff would not be able to communicate because the system could have an interference and be keyed up actively and allowing him not to enter the system. Same thing if something happened at a school or anything else. You open that up, it allows interference to be heard. Which Kyle knows that. We have interference across Mason County Fire all the time. We'll hear somebody that's on a dispatch room, we don't even know where.
There's never interference with the PD, and they use a P25 with a different encryption. We don't have encryption on our fire channel, so that's, I mean, I don't think that conversation is really effective with that RASC. But I will say this with, as far as the analog system, if it's not good enough for your guys, is it good enough for mine? Think about that.
You know, that's what we're on in Mason County. You're on analog system, and we're stuck with that because they won't buy a P25 for the fire departments. So you're currently using analog for your daily operations.
If that system wasn't good enough and you all upgraded your system, but you want my guys to still use the old system, that's, I mean, I think it's obvious. I think everybody up here just wants everybody to be safe. No, we want our families to come home. We're gonna have reliable communications so we can do our job effectively and help the community, period.
Correct, yeah. Yeah.
Whatever's good enough for, your guys here should be the same stuff that we're using for my guys. That's only fair.
Including what Noah just said about the RAS key, give us a little bit more of a description and summary of what the RAS key does and why it's so.
RAS key just stands for Restricted Access System, which is just a Motorola proprietary secure system for a secure key to keep the repeaters from receiving any kind of interference from similar or unlike systems that could possibly cause interference on the system.
Did we have that in place before switching to the DMR system, or was that something that came with it, or was that something that was asked to?
It's something that's kind of unique to, it's available on any Motorola system that uses a digital format. On your previous analog system, no. The only thing that you had on analog systems was called a CTCSS, which is Continuous Tone Coded Squelch, which basically does the same thing in a very crude way. It just, it's a very antiquated way of securing a system. It just keeps it from hearing just interference and static like that. So you had it, but it was on the analog system. It's just not what's the new technology is. Taking the RAS key off is something that you can do. It would require a complete major reprogram of the entire system, including every portable radio, mobile radio, and all the tower sites and all the backhaul tunnels that communicate between the towers. It all has to be removed from that, which is okay for the fire channel when you do that with you're all on a shared system, which means law and fire utilize the exact same equipment at the exact same time, but they're using different, basically they're virtual time slots. So the sheriff's department is talking through the same repeater and the same antenna at the same time the fire department's talking to the same repeater and the same antenna. He's just using the 0 part of the time slot, and the fire department's using the 1 part of the time slot. So it's a virtual thing that caused that to happen. If you remove the RAS key from the fire, you have to remove it from the law enforcement, which opens their system up to the possibility, like Noah was explaining, of interference that could prevent a law enforcement communication when it's needed the most. So it's one of those things, it's just, it can be taken off, but you do lose some integrity of the system when you do that. It's just totally up to you all if you want, if you want to take it off. It's a programming issue if it needs to be taken off. It just opens up the integrity of
Is there an alternative to the RAS key?
Not really, is there?
No, not the same thing, no.
No. It would just be opening it back up.
Is there something that could secure the law enforcement side but leave the EMS and the?
They're already using, basic encryption, which technically the fire department is too. You've got basic on, don't you, on everything? And then there's enhanced encryption.
No, there's no basic encryption.
You don't have it on either.
Okay.
Their encryption, it's a programming thing too. I mean, you can turn encryption on. Inherently, DMR systems are inherently not able to be monitored by scanners anyway. There's, I think, one company that makes a DMR scanner. So as far as, you know, keeping that secure from the public and stuff like that, it's not that big of a deal just because the infrastructure, the technology's not there to allow consumer devices to receive that anyway. So, I mean, you can turn enhanced encryption back on for the sheriff's department if you got rid of that. That still doesn't prevent.
It doesn't prevent the repeaters from getting interference though. So, even though he's encrypted, the sheriff encrypted talking, and the communications to dispatch are encrypted, social security numbers and everything like that, the system itself still has the issue where it could be manipulated or taken down where he couldn't talk because the RAS key is not there saying, this is a Bracken County radio, it's allowing this Bracken County system to talk. This radio, we don't know what it is, and we're gonna ignore it. You
So-
lose that.
What is the actual likelihood of that happening?
That's hard to say, isn't it? You never know.
We fought with it in Tollsboro a little bit with another county having Tollsboro's frequency.
I mean, because under a VHF system, I've heard over the years stuff from Shelbyville Road or Preston Highway come across our VHF from Louisville. So, because obviously I would recognize those addresses, but.
And technically, anything you heard previously is still there. You just don't hear it anymore because your digital system doesn't allow it. So if, you know, because you're utilizing the exact same frequencies that you had before, you just put a new technology on those frequencies that ignores that.
I mean, that's a rare instance, like
Right.
twice in 10 years.
Yeah, it's usually when weather systems are moving in, when there's reflectivity in the clouds and stuff like that, you'll pick up more stuff. As far as turning on the analog system to do with that, to allow these type of communications, like I said, Brown County, you can check with them, they did the same thing, using their 5-site analog system. Mason County currently is running analog. The fire channels were never updated to any kind of digital. So by turning that on, I mean, you're not, I don't want to say you would be doing the fire department in Maysville a disservice. You're just simply turning on the same type system that they're currently using now. The digital system you have over here, yes, is far superior as far as coverage, but the analog system is comparable to what they're using now, and with basically the same type of coverage footprint for that. So, I mean, that's just, the analog system come back on is the most cost-effective, easiest solution to turn it on immediately. Long-term, if, you know, to actually have this stuff work on the digital network, I would need to make sure that that software update is compatible with these, and then it would require a major reprogram of every device in the county to remove that, if that makes sense.
Sheriff, what's your thoughts about the RAS key for Bracken County?
I don't know enough information about it specifically of what it may or may not do to the system, but I know that our need to communicate is more important than if I'm gonna get interference from Louisville twice in 10 years for me. And I'll use the example from this weekend. I got dispatched to a stabbing. It's on the Mason-Bracken line in Bracken County. I asked for assistance from Mason County SO. there was some confusion as to whether it was East or West Mary Ingles. Because they did not give a specific address, I'm going based on what I'm assuming it is. That information got communicated to Mason County as being West Mary Ingles. So instead of that deputy taking Route 8, he took the double A because he thought he could make better time from where he was at. And then it got communicated to him that it's east. The incident itself turned out to be somewhat uneventful, but I can't communicate with these guys when they're en route to tell them what we have. I've got to rely on our dispatch to call their dispatch, and you lose the story somewhere in there, quite honestly.
Plain telephone.
Correct. But that happens every day? No, but it happens a time or two a month, and I'll give you another example. A couple of years ago, when we first got these radios, we had an incident in Germantown where an individual had fired some shots, and we had a deputy out there, again, by himself with this individual. They called me at home. I threw clothes on, left the house. I forgot my radio because I'm in a hurry to get out of there. I did have my phone, and yeah, we have Zello, but guess what doesn't work in Germantown? Verizon service. So while I had this phone, it was of no value to me. And that's not a reliable app. It's fine to be sitting in the office with, but it's not practical to use when you're out there working. It just, there's too much fumbling with the phone to try to use that. Again, Mason County responded to assist with that, but we have no direct communication with them. So now it's our dispatch calling their dispatch to tell them what the circumstances are. So again, does it happen every day? No, but when it does, it creates a problem.
Mr. Cobb, how many radios do we have? Bracken County, is it 90, 80, 90, is that right?
I'm gonna say, really
Or is
close
it
to
more?
100 mobiles and about 100 portables. Do you know what that is? So probably 200-ish altogether, plus 4 repeater sites, and then backup infrastructure that is at dispatch. So there's like redundant systems at dispatch.
So we're talking, if we really came down, are we at 2 options? One, the proposal to add to the analog, which we have in front of us, which could be an immediate possible short-term fix. But then we would also be looking at the second option of trying to convert to where it is definitely digitally compatible, reprogramming hundreds of radios, repeater sites, our hardware and software here in the office. And that would be a month's long process.
Yeah, I was just trying to talk to Noah there and see what's entailed. Okay, on the repeaters and tunnels, we have to have assistance from a Motorola engineer on some technical stuff there. But once that is done and out of the way, I mean, it's something that probably could be done over the course of a day, but it is gonna take the radio system down probably for about a 24-hour period while those kind of things are completed.
So all the radios and the channels can be addressed digitally, not manually?
It has to be manual.
That's what,
Each one of them has to be done manually.
that's what I was
Yeah, we
worried
don't
about.
have over there reprogramming available for all this.
If we take the Rasky out of the repeaters, then the current radios won't work. They will inherently get bonked out of the system because they're looking for the security key that's not there in the system. So we'd have to, as quick as we possibly could, touch every radio in the county at one time.
Can you give an estimate of just a ballpark figure, 200 radios, repeaters, just ballpark it?
I don't know if Motorola is charged for the remapping the tunnel. I really don't know right off the top of my head. It would probably be it would be a little more than the quote you have there, but probably not too far off from that. I mean, because I'm thinking it's probably, it's nothing that we couldn't complete within a day's time. The problem of it is the engineering behind it on the, on remapping the way the tunnels work for the communication between each tower site. That's an encrypted system that those use across basically you do it across FirstNet, communicating with each tower, so.
My concern, and I think most of ours, would be spending $12,000 to get something done immediately, and then turning around and having other departments and agencies wanting to completely switch back and do the second option, and then we're gonna spend another $12,000 to $15,000.
Right, and currently, the way it is right now, and Robertson County is going to a completely different, unlike system. My understanding of things, UHF over there is what they're going, so the way they're going. So, by turning on the analog system, you're allowing other agencies that aren't necessarily involved in this discussion, which would be like Pendleton County Fire. It reestablishes the ability for, which I don't know if there's a whole lot goes across the river, but with Higginsport and things like that, and currently with what Robertson County has and Harrison County has, it would turn those counties on to be able to talk, because they all had that Barton County channel before. They would be able to talk back into the system. So that's one advantage of turning the analog system back on. It just everybody that had it before would have it again, which includes all the other counties towards.
And we deal with Northern Pendleton and Eastern,
right,
with their offices.
Yes, it would turn back on where they could talk, because I don't know that they are investing in kind of DMR infrastructure. I'm not for sure what Pendleton County's been working towards. So it would turn that avenue back on. And then, like I said, if these other radios, I need to ask a question with Motorola to make sure that their RASKey is compatible. Not RASKey, excuse me. IP Site Connect key. If it is, then then naturally, the key thing is we just need to make sure the radios will do IP Site Connect, because with this type system, and it chooses the tower for you to talk through, and geographically, sometimes it because of signal strengths, it doesn't necessarily connect to the tower you're closest to. The closest tower sometimes doesn't have the best signal strength, which we've noticed, and you can tell that when you ride around the vehicles and switches between each tower site. So I would not leave that up to manually switching the tower sites, because then that causes problems in the digital system, and somebody thinks that they're close to Milford, but they're actually connecting to Piranha, and then they start pixelating the system. So we try to avoid introducing that into the system.
Judge, do you think with both parties' discussions today and with the quote that we've got, that we could consider looking at both of these options at our next meeting, either the 10th or the 24th?
That'll give them time to make their calls and come up with a quote for switching the system without the RASKey. Is that what you're saying?
I believe so. I mean, I think we've all heard from each of their discussions, best and worst case scenarios, and like they all said, the number one goal is public safety, period. And we've said for many years, you can't put a price on life or death. And I think we know that's what we did a few years ago when we paid to upgrade the system.
I just got one question. With you all being out of Mason County, how come it's such a difference? Why can't we communicate with Mason County? Is there a reason?
Mason County Fire has stayed on basically an antiquated analog system. It's just the same type system that's been there for the last 50 years. It was proposed and put in to be a P25 system, but it was never turned on, and they never invested in the infrastructure for the county fire departments to switch to that. So it's still a basic analog system, and there's still a few of those left in the state, but as of right now, I don't think very many, right? I mean, out of 120 counties, there's way less than half are still communicating on analog. I mean, even A lot of extreme rural counties we deal with, like Estill County and different ones like that, have all switched to either P25 or DMR. So it's pretty rare to still have anybody operating analog, but there is still a few. As far as northern Kentucky counties, Mason County may be one of the last few, as soon as Robertson County switches.
And that's what we were on prior to DMR?
Yes, just straight analog, yes. And everybody's getting away from it because your signal is way better. I mean, I know the sheriff probably has to notice the difference between how he used to talk and then how he can currently talk now. The clarity is much better, the connectivity is much better.
Yeah, for us, there's no question of as far as our just general ability to talk or communicate is way better than it was previously.
It's just that now you get into, everybody's, sometimes usually invest in slightly different systems, right across the river, completely different system. One side of you versus the other side of you, they usually go with a completely different system, just like Robertson County is. So there is ways to make everything interoperability compliant. They make all kinds of infrastructure for that. It's just, you have to kind of look at the best option for you and then invest in that interoperability infrastructure. Basically, most of these systems that are dealing with that, they're all using these new cross-patch systems to either keep analog going or talk DMR digital to P25 trunk digital, So these patches work for anything like that. The patch that we've presented to you all, that is a current patch that's used not only to patch digital to analog, but two types of unlike digital systems to each other. So that's infrastructure that could be used in the future. Let's say they do get this statewide 800 megahertz system going. The state police is proposing to be a statewide system for public safety agencies. Then the sheriff's department could take that same patch, if it's not used for that, and then use it to patch his law enforcement channel to the new statewide system. So he can talk between VHF DMR to 800 megahertz P25. So it's a very common interface piece that we propose just to bring the analog back on.
Do you have any idea how long it'll be before Mason County gets their radios? Because I know when you order, sometimes it takes forever.
Yeah, it just depends.
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
In the next month or so.
Yeah.
We actually already ordered one radio that's in and it's getting put in our boat. We'll have a boat next month on the river, so we'll have the cargo. And then our handhelds were just ordered maybe 3 weeks ago, so probably the next month we should be seeing, depending on what we do here is how we program them. That's kind of why this is kind of an issue, because when they get the radios in, they're gonna program your all's channels in. And so we'd like to go ahead and have that, so we can go ahead and have this done, and we can have it programmed and we're able to communicate. That's kind of, like I said, the reason we bought these DMR radios to be compatible with Bracken and Lewis. That's the only reason we bought them, because we like, well, if we can bite the bullet, we'll bite the bullet and meet you halfway, kind of thing. So, the one thing about removing I know when you spoke about the repeaters, with the RAS key, you said the encryption was on the repeater, not on the radio, and that's why it was more protected, right now?
Yes.
So,
RAS
if
key- RAS
all you
key's
need
not-
to do is remove the RAS key from the radios, if departments have their own way of programming radios, they can remove the RAS keys themselves, right? So that'd be less of a cost to this court, right? Because then it's not really a security issue, they're just removing the key.
Well, it's up to the court what they want us to provide. The fire radios technically aren't owned by the court, so we would have to do a proposal to do all the sheriff radios and any radio that's owned by the court. If the court's gonna cover the other agencies, that would be up to you all.
Are they by the court, or they donated to the departments? That's also the question, who technically owns the radios, the fire departments or the court?
The fire departments do. Because when they picked them up after programming in my office, they requested a contract to transfer ownership immediately.
So you could, if you remove the RAS key, you could give it up to the department that they can remove the RAS key, except have to pay
these repeaters at these sites, law enforcement, fire, and EMS are all on these repeaters, right? These single repeaters?
I didn't understand that question. Yes, the infrastructure at the tower sites, yes. That's all.
And the RASCI has to be removed from those. And that would include law enforcement.
Yes. Yeah, if you take it
As
out of the
one.
system, it removes it from both sides, yes.
Okay.
If you switch analog back to analog, if Foster and Milford don't have analog on their towers, do we have to buy for those towers?
No, we wouldn't have, there's no infrastructure left on those towers that would accommodate this. Basically, the only one that would be taking care of everything would be the Piranha Road.
Okay.
Not Piranha, Bluegrass.
Bluegrass.
The Bluegrass and Augusta Towers. Yeah.
Okay.
The equipment was removed from, completely removed from Milford and
Foster.
Judge, so the fire department's on their own radios?
Yes.
Can we let them get a bid instead of us having to pay for them? Can we let them get their own bids
So.
with
would
you
we-
all or whoever?
Is that just, I mean, does the RASCI come off the radios? Because I'm kind of stupid with
yes, that's a programming issue. The fire departments that have their own software, or we can even provide the software. I mean, it's not restricted software anymore. You know, if they want to take it off themselves, they can take it off themselves.
Is that going to affect our stuff, our system?
If they don't do it properly, yes.
Okay.
I mean, 'cause you can't mess with the IP SciConnect programming, or that causes interference. Yes.
Since the fire departments own their radios, if they take their own RASCI off and do something to mess it up, then they're not gonna have access to everybody else. I mean, is that a possibility?
Yes. Yes, I mean, if you don't understand, the nuts and bolts of how the IP SciConnect system works, and you manipulate that part of it, then yes, the system will either, for them, it would either fail to work, or they could cause interference that would, even on the fire side, could cause the sheriff's stuff not to work, if improperly done.
So could you sit down with the Maysville Fire Department's vendors and make sure, work together on this?
Yeah, that's the one thing I want to do, because like I said, as of yesterday, I was not aware that Kenwood IP SciConnect would connect to a Motorola IP SciConnect, and I want Noah to talk to our regional rep and confirm that with one of the engineers. If that works, then, if we can simply just do it that way, then that's a good way for him to get connected to the system. I just don't want to go through the whole process of removing what we think is an obstacle, and then it still won't work in their radio, even if they wanted it to. That's the one thing I want to clear up, which I need to talk to Motorola about that. But yes, I'll find that out,
Yeah, 'cause-
probably this afternoon.
So basically, this is a Band-Aid, and if we can hook up with their radios to whatever, when you have your meetings, that would be a fix.
Yes.
Because I think that, we need to communicate with Mason County, because I remember the shooting up there, or you were speaking of, Bobby, in Germantown. I mean, Colton and all of y'all were over there that time.
And except for the law enforcement, I can't speak for law enforcement, because Mason County law enforcement is P25, and it is encrypted. So that puts the sheriff out completely. However, when we put this system in, Bracken County radios, currently as they are completely compatible with Mason County. You can talk backwards. Anybody over here can talk to Mason County with no problems. The problem is right now is Mason County talking to you all. So we can talk that way, they can't talk this way currently.
And that's all we need to fix.
Yeah, and that's all you need to fix. So, one way is to turn in the analog patch on, which will allow that to work. It's not 100% ideal, but it's very functional, and everybody has went that direction as a interoperability fix. Yeah, it allows air evac and all the medical helicopters to use their previous way of doing it, can still talk into a system. And then I will look into what it would take to allow them to go into the digital directly, just to make sure that we're all singing on the same page on the hymnal there, and I want to make sure that works. But,
Because there's no need of us paying your company to put a Band-Aid on something, and then we have to pay you again to actually fix the problem.
Right.
And let's just, if we can communicate, and you all communicate with their vendors, hopefully we can get this resolved.
So, are you saying that you all can fix this and we won't be paying anything? I'm confused by what Kevin said.
no, I mean, it's gonna take some, work and money to fix this, to correct the system as a whole.
Okay.
I think Kyle brought up was the fire departments, once that RAS key is removed, would have the option of going in there and taking the RAS key out themselves and modifying their radios as they see fit. And then Ms. Ruff's question was, if they do that, could it mess with the system? And then my answer to that was yes. It could. If somebody else is doing something to those radios, it could mess with the system. But like I said, I would have no overreach over that part of it.
Well, if it's gonna cost us more money, why didn't we set it up at first, when we first paid you?
But what's that? What's the question?
I mean, this $12,000 right here, the physical court's gonna have to pay you to fix this problem. Why wasn't this problem fixed to begin with?
For the analog to be turned on?
Yes, sir.
We specifically that we're lucky it got left in place. All that equipment was originally going to be removed, and it wouldn't even exist to this day. We terminated the license on it and everything. The only reason that particular system was left in place is because when we switched to digital, the vendor that does the sirens, which was Sirens for City, he could have changed the sirens to go off with the digital code, which would have gave him a lot better signal strength. But I'm not for sure, and I think you looked into the price. One, it was going to be very expensive to have him switch those to digital. And then secondly, he wasn't pleased with the reliability of how these sirens decode when they're in digital mode. So that was kind of a last second thing when we was putting the new system in and taking the old system out. We decided to keep the old analog system there. And so now when dispatch sits off the tornado sirens, we've got the console programmed to automatically connect to the digital, or excuse me, to the analog system, send out the tornado siren information, and then it disconnects and connects back to the digital system. So that's why it was left there.
Daryl, I believe one of the problems was we have converted to some of the new sirens. Out of 15, we still have 6 or 7 old sirens that we're trying to get funding to upgrade.
Yeah, and I think that was part of the problem too.
So I think that was a problem.
Some of them could be switched to digital, and there was
Some
a
cannot.
few that was not,
Yeah.
unless you replace those sirens, which was, I guess, $20 or $30,000 a piece to replace. So that's why we did that. You can, the other cheaper way to do it is through the dispatch console. You can manually cross-patch the analog channel with the digital channel. The only problem with that is that could be inadvertently turned off, and then if an ambulance is coming over here and they're trying to holler and it don't work and nobody knows why. So that's already built into the console where you can patch, but it's a manual thing, and sometimes that resets and defaults off. So with what we had proposed is a hardwire patch that goes actually at the tower site, which doesn't have any user input. It's just always there and it's always on.
Okay, I mean, because we were new magistrates. You had 6 brand-new magistrates when this was going on, and, you know, we had to learn the system and everything, and it was a lot at us at one time.
Yes. And that's, like I said, since the tornado siren became an issue, that's the only reason we even left this analog system on, so that it's even a possibility to even do that at this moment.
Kevin, I also think that this is due to the upgrade of Mason County's platform right now, which they didn't have in place or discussion about 3 or 4 years ago. correct?
Correct. And Cal, you might be able to answer this. Is there any plan for Mason County to go P25 on the fire, or is that still just been tabled?
That would be, I have no information on
Yeah,
that.
see,
I
that-
can't discuss on that because I don't have any
Yeah.
information on that.
I think it was 10 years ago they was gonna do it, and they've never have.
For those of y'all you've heard about, how many of y'all have a headache? You know, about talking about radios, let's be honest. So I think this issue's, causes, what we've talked about causes more questions and answers right now. So I think, as far as our analog side, we stay analog with the fire because it's a good backup. As many of you all know, with dealing with digital stuff and computers and everything else, there can always be issues with the computer and the digital side of things. So we've kept one analog and one digital as a backup, because normally, I like to use the reference of airplane technology. You talk to an airplane mechanic, gauge on an airplane still made the same thing like it was 50 years ago because it works. So, do we have some issues with analog sometime? Yes, but it's a good backup. It's a simple system where if something happens with our digital, we can cross over, and the police have been on the fire channel. And, especially when we first went digital, we had a lot of issues, like when you put in a new system, kind of like when you all put in your new system, I'm sure there was hiccups and stuff. So that's kind of where we've stayed at so far. The upgrading part of that's all decisions that are above my pay grade, so I can talk about the fire department right now. So, but I will say this, I think this issue's not gonna be fixed today, and as an olive branch I know we've talked about, our contract coming up. As long as you also progress and we're trying to fix this issue, we are still gonna respond to Bracken County, we're still gonna protect your residents and stuff. We just know this issue needs to be fixed sooner than later. So understand this ain't gonna be fixed July 1. I'm a realistic. For this to be fixed right and done the proper way, except rushing into things, let's get information, bring it back here, if it's a month or whatever we gotta do, work with Daryl, work with Noah, work with whoever you need to with the fire departments. Tanish is a great asset behind me, she works for both of us, and she has an idea of how both systems work. Communicate with her, and I think we can resolve this issue, I just don't think we're gonna get an answer from that.
Been a question the whole time, about every meeting I went to when we were getting the new radios. My question was, how do I talk to somebody else that comes into the county? That's been an issue all along. We can't not talk to them. Maysville especially, they're in our county way too much.
I agree, and
Penny, I'm not
the way
gonna
to make
lie,
it work
that
right now
was,
would be to turn the analog on, and that would definitely help with anybody coming, not just Mason County, but anybody coming from any other direction. I know the fire department's mutual aid with Northern Pendleton a lot. Turning that on will enhance their ability, fire only, it's nothing to do with law enforcement, would enhance the ability for some surrounding agencies to be able to talk back to Bracken County. Like I said, if Bracken County leaves the county, you all pretty much have no problem talking to the places you're going. It's people talking when they're coming back. So allowing, because the analog systems are really good analog systems here. I mean, it's served this area, and I think it's actually a new repeater out there, that one, that was put in just prior to switch that. So it's a very new, powerful, but analog system. So it's in place. I mean, this would allow you to use it. It would instantly allow them to be able to talk. I know there was, when we first put this in, there were several of the fire departments that had expressed interest in being able to keep some of their analog stuff, and they were kind of disheartened when it was no longer going to work. This would turn it back onto them. Now, you'll notice some differences in the system because analog does have static in it, and what sounds crisp and pristine now will allow some analog radios to get into it, which will, you'll notice like that doesn't sound as clear as it normally does, and that's just because of the nature of analog. You're patching analog into a digital system, but it is a tried and true type system that would work to at least allow interoperability currently as you proceed forward.
Y'all go back to like the Easter Sunday wreck down there by Eden Bridge. We had Mason, we had Pendleton, one all agencies was there, but we could talk to everybody. Now, if we would have something that big, somebody's running
Well, and the easiest direct way to do that is to allow them to use their existing radios to talk into the system as it is now. And it's not that it's an inferior system, I mean, it's just, they were built to two different specs. The digital was built for 95% portable coverage, the analog system is 95% mobile coverage. So as far as going back to the, if you're talking from a vehicle, I don't think you would have a dead spot in the county on analog. As far as portable coverage anywhere, in Augusta, Brooksville, I would say the only places that you would have problems talking if you was using a portable are gonna be the problems that were always existed, which were Milford, downtown Milford, and Foster, when you get down in Foster, when you get into a low spot at the fringes of the county, but we've all got that everywhere. Except for you guys on digital, you don't have that problem. You have good, excellent coverage in those spots, but is it 100% fix? No, but is it a ideal fix? Yes. It does fix everything that Penny's worried about.
So I'm confused. So you're wanting them to talk through our old analog repeater. They want to talk through DMR because they want to remove the RAS key and program their radios to the DMR.
No, well,
We're talking about two different
things there, and that's what we're gonna look into, with,
So we're not addressing what he wants to do.
Yeah.
We're addressing what you think is a plausible fix.
No,
but I'm gonna tell you that that repeater is not a plausible fix because you can't talk anywhere on a portable anywhere in this county on it.
No, and Magistrate Gerald's is what I talked about. In order to even answer the question for specifically Maysville only, I need to talk to Motorola to make sure that our IP Site Connect will work with their IP Site Connect. So I've got to have a conversation about that. What I was talking about with that is addressing the agencies that Penny just brought up, which are not in this conversation, which are Pendleton County or Harrison County, because she says she had those at an accident.
What I'm telling you is when I'm standing on the AA at Snag Creek Road trying to talk on a portable radio, I can't do it on that repeater. So it doesn't do me much good unless I'm in town or somewhere on a hill.
Right. And this fix here would do nothing for law enforcement anyway. This is solely
correct. But I mean, if I had to switch to that fire repeater to talk to Colton or whoever, we could switch to that channel and say use this one. Yeah. Again, that's not the fix that they're looking for, and I don't think that's going to solve any of the problem.
No, not if you're in a bad spot. No, I mean it's not. That's why we got rid of that system.
So we have the option in the quote for analog. You're going to make a phone call to Motorola, and you're going to come up with the option and the quote for removing the RAS key for us.
Yes. Moving the screen and making sure that will 100% be compatible.
Yes.
Because, I mean, that's, when you're dealing with that, those two type of systems, even when they are supposed to work, sometimes they're truly not field tested to work. They just, on paper, they work. That's why I need to make sure.
Okay.
The only thing I'd like to see is just where they can communicate, because I sure don't want to walk to Mr. Limble's house or something like that, you know what I'm saying? And I wouldn't want to go to yours, you're a firefighter too, so. Colton?
No, not law enforcement.
That's why you clarified fire only.
Fire only.
Okay.
Not law enforcement.
Their law enforcement radios, which are DMR, are not compatible with the P25 system, correct?
No. Not without a patch on it.
Okay, is the patch that could work?
Yeah, it is. It's relatively inexpensive to do it to the fire. It's a lot more expensive to do it to the law enforcement because we'd have to reinstall the equipment to allow to do it.
Okay. Which in an install, like somebody had a question earlier as to the install,
sure what sure that takes, but it.
Is your portable book over here on your system good? You have enough coverage for you?
Yeah, like I called out here, and, you know, about that I was in a meeting, so, it did reach to our dispatcher, yes.
I mean, we can work with Tanisha on a fix. I mean, it is implemented for dispatch centers to have the capabilities of what's called, I'm sure it's called a patch on their system. So if you have, you know, the sheriff function over here from Mason County, you on the computer can click a patch to allow your each one call system to talk into the EMR system through the console. But it's manual patch. It has to be done manually.
But they can bother you hearing that.
Yes, yes. That allows, the dispatch center itself allows that, and, right,
Is that a specific call? So you said manually, so, hey, I'm on the way out to Germantown, you know, for instance, that incident there, you know, a guy with a handgun there, there was a Bracken County unit on the other side.
Yes.
I couldn't tell where the guy was necessarily at the time, I didn't know exactly what the sheriff had, and then there was a deputy on the other side. involved with the gun. I just wanna be able to, does the dispatcher know the next meeting?
Right.
That's the stuff.
With that, we can actually put, having already put in basic dispatch, and that dispatcher down there at the same time could get into the system over here and give out the call, and that dispatcher may issue the patch, or this dispatcher could issue the patch. Either dispatcher could do it automatically.
Most highway patrols across the nation do it that way. It's called, basically, every time that you do an interoperability with another agency, you just request a patch, they turn it on, and it puts both systems together.
It was originally in the dispatch center here when it done analog. There was a mutual, it was called a mutual aid radio in the dispatch center that you could change channels and have everybody, I mean, they could Pat Robertson on here.
But that was taken out when the police went encrypted over in Mason County, and it was never turned back on over here. Yeah.
It would just take encrypted radio from you all over here and one radio.
That's still in the system, it's just not active because it's been, it was never activated.
That might be the simplest fix for you all and the cheapest.
For law enforcement, yeah, definitely.
Appreciate y'all.
Yes, in Mason County, law enforcement, whatever it said, will go across Bracken County, whatever it said Bracken County, will go across Mason County. Right. There is problems there, if there's not a channel that's made to do that patch itself, a single channel.
So there's no easy fix, but I'm definitely gonna look into what Magistrate Gerald wants me to do on what it would take to allow that to work with the Kenwood radios, and then we'll look at what it would take to make this work. From the court side of it, the cost that would incur to de-RAS key everything. Does that make sense? Is that what I need to? And then the fire departments own their individual radios, they'll just be given instructions on what to do once the hardware that the county's responsible for is taking place.
But the one thing I wanna ask, when the RAS key's taken off of the sites, the IP sites, right?
Mhm.
Nothing works in our county.
Yeah, if we went over and turned it off at the tower sites, nothing works. So,
Okay. So it's not like we can fix one set of radios one day and another set of radios another days. It all has to be
like
done.
Like Officer Dodge is easy, he's only one, but
Right.
with the sheriff, we would, whatever day we do that, we would just make sure, like the day when we installed all the stuff, just kind of need all your stuff in one place at one time, and we'll do it really quick. Same thing with Chief Fuller down there. We would just do that. Law enforcement would be very easy to do, because those guys it's a smaller group, and it's pretty easy to get everybody together at the same time.
We just gotta
At
make
least
sure
they
the
can drop
three-
their car off or their radio off if it's an off day. The ambulance should be pretty easy to do. And then, dog wardens and different things that have radios, all that's pretty, from the county side of it's pretty simple. The only, larger thing to do, which is, a little harder to organize, is the individual fire departments, because, usually you got 20, 25 people in those fire departments, and they're all spread out. So if they're gonna handle their own, we would just say, this day at noon, switch your radios. If you don't have them switched, they're not gonna work.
We would have to keep communication and work that out, but
Yeah.
you will come up with some quotes and all that for us.
Yeah, I'll get that to you and answers
And
the
some
questions I need to
answers on-
find out the distinctive answers to and stuff, so. I'll find that out, and that way you can,
Confirm a few things.
yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Darrell.
Anything else for the cops to work on for us?
Thank you all,
Thank you.
all of you.
Thank you all. So the Bracken County budget fiscal year 26-27, the second reading adoption will be tabled until June 24th. It has been approved by Department for Local Government, and we've got our advertisement in the paper. Moving on to approving the financials, I would like to add, have a motion on the floor to add road fund transfer to the agenda.
Motion.
Motion by Heather Brumley. Do I have a second?
Second.
John Scott. And I believe you were given a copy of that transfer. Call for a vote, please.
Debbie Mayfield,
Yes.
John Scott,
Yes.
Heather Brumley,
Yes.
Kevin Gerald.
Yes.
Judge Teagarden,
Yes.
Sandy Roof. Craig Miller,
Yes,
David Couch,
Yes.
Danny Holleran.
Yes.
General fund budget transfers. Do I have a motion on the floor?
so move.
Craig Miller has made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Heather Brumley. Any discussion? Call for a vote.
John Scott,
Yes.
Heather Brumley,
Yes.
Kevin Gerald.
Yes.
Judge Teagarden.
Yes.
Sandy Roof.
Yes.
Craig Miller,
Yes,
David Couch,
Yes.
Danny Holleran,
Yes.
Debbie Mayfield.
Yes.
Road fund transfer.
Motion.
Motion by David Kelch. Do I have a second?
Second.
Kevin Gerald. Any discussion? David Kelch. Second by Kevin Gerald. Any discussion? Call for a vote.
Heather Brumley,
Yes.
Kevin Gerald.
Yes.
Judge Teagarden,
Yes.
Sandy Roof,
Yes.
Craig Miller,
yes,
David Couch,
Yes.
Danny Holleran,
Yes.
Debbie Mayfield.
Yes.
John Scott.
Yes.
Dispatch 911 fund budget transfer. Can I have a motion on the floor?
Motion.
John Scott, do I have a second?
Second.
Sandy Roof, any discussion? Call for a vote.
Kevin Gerald,
Yes.
Judge Teagarden,
Yes.
Sandy Roof,
Yes.
Craig Miller,
yes,
David Couch,
Yes.
Danny Holleran,
Yes.
Debbie Mayfield,
Yes.
John Scott,
Yes.
Heather Brumley.
Yes.
General fund vendor claims, do I have a motion on the floor?
Motion.
Heather Brumley's made a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Debbie Mayfield, any discussion? Call for a vote.
Craig Miller,
yes,
David Couch,
Yes.
Danny Holleran,
Yes.
Debbie Mayfield,
Yes.
John Scott,
Yes.
Heather Brumley,
Yes.
Kevin Gerald,
Yes.
Judge Teagarden,
Yes.
Sandy Roof.
Yes.
Road fund vendor claims, do I have a motion on the floor?
Motion.
Sandy Roof, do I have a second?
Second.
David Kelch, any discussion? Call for a vote.
David Couch,
Yes.
Danny Holleran,
Yes.
Debbie Mayfield,
Yes.
John Scott,
Yes.
Heather Brumley,
Yes.
Kevin Gerald,
Yes.
Judge Teagarden,
Yes.
Sandy Roof,
Yes.
Craig Miller.
yes,
Jail fund vendor claims, do I have a motion on the floor?
Motion.
Debbie Mayfield, and who was the second over there?
Danny,
Danny Hollern. Any discussion? Call for a vote.
Craig Miller,
yes,
David Couch,
Yes.
Danny Holleran,
Yes.
Debbie Mayfield,
Yes.
John Scott,
Yes.
Heather Brumley,
Yes.
Kevin Gerald,
Yes.
Judge Teagarden,
Yes.
Sandy Roof.
Yes.
Senior citizen fund vendor claims, do I have a motion on the floor?
Motion.
John Scott, do I have a second?
Second.
Sandy Roof, any discussion? Call for a vote.
David Couch,
Yes.
Danny Holleran,
Yes.
Debbie Mayfield,
Yes.
John Scott,
Yes.
Heather Brumley,
Yes.
Kevin Gerald,
Yes.
Judge Teagarden,
Yes.
Sandy Roof,
Yes.
Craig Miller.
yes.
Dispatch 911 fund vendor claims, do I have a motion on the floor?
Motion.
Motion by Heather Brumley, do I have a second?
Second,
Craig Miller, any discussion? Call for a vote.
Danny Holleran,
Yes.
Debbie Mayfield,
Yes.
John Scott,
Yes.
Heather Brumley,
Yes.
Kevin Gerald,
Yes.
Judge Teagarden,
Yes.
Sandy Roof,
Yes.
Craig Miller,
Yes.
David Couch.
Yes.
Other business, anything by magistrates that need to come before the court?
Judge, I think it's the 25th year annual Art in the Garden is Saturday, June the 6th.
Saturday, June 6th.
I believe it's considered from 11 to 5.
Anything else to come before the court this morning? I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Danny Holleran, do I have a second?
Second.
John Scott. Call for a vote, please.
Debbie Mayfield,
Yes.
John Scott,
Yes.
Heather Brumley,
Yes.
Kevin Gerald,
Yes.
Judge Teagarden,
Yes.
Sandy Roof,
Yes.
Craig Miller,
Yes.
David Couch,
Yes.
Danny Holleran.
Yes.